Some stories are too strange to be true. Others are so perfectly executed that they haunt us for decades. D.B. Cooper isn't just a name, it's a legend, a ghost, a puzzle that even the best minds in the world couldn't solve. On a cold November day in 1971, a man boarded a plane, hijacked it mid-flight, demanded a ransom of $200,000, and leaped into the freezing night with nothing but a parachute and a dream of escape. The most extraordinary part? He was never caught, and no trace of him has been found. No body, no parachute, only a few worn-out bills washed ashore years later. This isn't just a story about a hijacking. It's a crime so flawless that it baffled the FBI for nearly 5 decades. A mystery that has spawned countless books, films, and conspiracy theories. Who was D.B. Cooper? Did he survive the daring leap? Or did he meet a lonely death in the dense forests of Washington? And how did one man, in an era without advanced technology or intricate planning tools, outsmart an entire nation? Tonight, we'll relive the events of that fateful day. From the Northwest Orient Airlines ticket counter in Portland to the skies above Puget Sound, we'll walk through every twist, every clue, and every unanswered question in this tale. Buckle up, because this is not just a flight into history. It's a journey into one of the most fascinating unsolved mysteries the world has ever known. Join Shadow Mysteries to uncover this case right now. It was the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, a regular Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The atmosphere at Portland International Airport was calm, with passengers slowly checking in for their flights. At the counter of Northwest Orient Airlines, a middle-aged man, clean-shaven, wearing a black suit and tie, paid $20 cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle. He gave his name as Dan Cooper. No ID was required back then. Everything was simple. He carried only a briefcase and a brown paper bag. As he boarded Flight 305, the attendants noticed nothing unusual. The plane was only 1/3 full, carrying 36 passengers and 6 crew members, including Captain William Scott, flight attendants Florence Schaffner, and Tina Mucklow. Cooper's calm demeanor blended perfectly into the background. He took seat 18C, ordered a bourbon with soda, and smoked a cigarette, a typical passenger in the 1970s. But this seemingly ordinary flight was about to become anything but routine. Shortly after takeoff, with the plane cruising smoothly above the clouds, Cooper leaned toward Florence Schaffner, the nearest flight attendant, and handed her a folded note. Schaffner smiled politely, assuming it was just another businessman flirting with her, and slipped the note into her purse without reading it. But then Cooper leaned closer, his voice calm yet chilling. "Miss, you better read that note. I have a bomb." Schaffner froze. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled the note out. The words on the paper were clear and terrifying. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. Do exactly as I say, and no one will get hurt." Slowly, she looked up at Cooper, whose expression was unnervingly composed. "Show me the bomb," she whispered. Cooper nodded, opened his briefcase just wide enough to reveal red sticks connected by wires and a large battery, an unmistakable device of destruction. Cooper's voice was measured, as if he had rehearsed the lines 100 times. "I want $200,000 in $20 bills, 2 front parachutes, 2 reserve parachutes. And when we land in Seattle, I want the plane fully fueled, ready to take off again immediately." His calmness was unsettling. There was no anger, no malice, just cold, calculated precision. Schaffner relayed the demands to Captain William Scott, who quickly contacted air traffic control. Back on the ground, Northwest Orient Airlines scrambled to meet the demands. FBI agents were immediately involved, but their priority was clear: the safety of everyone on board. As the plane circled above Puget Sound, the airline gathered the ransom money, 10,000 bills of 20 each, and photographed every single one, hoping they could track it later. At 5:24 p.m., Flight 305 touched down at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Under Cooper's instructions, the plane taxied to a remote part of the runway. Armed FBI agents stood at a distance, watching the situation unfold. But Cooper was one step ahead. He ordered all cabin lights dimmed, making it impossible for snipers to get a clear shot. The ransom and parachutes were delivered to the plane by airline staff, disguised in plain clothes to avoid being mistaken for police. Cooper inspected everything carefully before allowing the 36 passengers to disembark. However, he kept the flight crew on board, including Captain Scott and flight attendant Tina Mucklow. The tension was thick as the plane refueled, preparing for its next flight into the unknown. At approximately 7:40 p.m., with the passengers released and the ransom money secured, Flight 305 took off from Seattle-Tacoma Airport. This time, the flight crew consisted only of Captain William Scott, First Officer Bob Ratitzak, Flight Engineer Harold Anderson, and Flight Attendant Tina Mucklow. Their new destination? Mexico City. Cooper, calm as ever, instructed the pilot to keep the plane flying at an altitude of 10,000 feet, at a speed no faster than 200 knots, and with the rear door unlocked and the aft stairwell extended. The crew was puzzled but followed his orders. Cooper's demands were specific, too specific. The flight crew exchanged nervous glances. He knew things that only someone familiar with the Boeing 727 would know. Was this just a desperate hijacker? Or was he someone with insider knowledge of aviation? With the cabin lights dimmed, Tina Mucklow sat silently in the rear of the plane, watching Cooper as he calmly adjusted the straps on one of the parachutes. He worked methodically, without a trace of panic or urgency. Cooper handed her a note but then took it back before she could read it, another one of his many mysteries. His demeanor was eerie, almost as if he had done this before. Finally, Cooper ordered Mucklow and the rest of the crew to stay locked in the cockpit until further notice. As she walked toward the front of the plane, she took one last glance at him. There he was, alone in the dimly lit cabin, his black suit blending into the shadows, preparing for what would be the most daring escape ever attempted. At exactly 8:13 p.m., the crew felt the plane make a sudden upward lurch. The aft stairwell had been lowered. They tried contacting Cooper over the intercom, but there was no response. The cold air rushed into the cabin as the stairwell hung open mid-flight. Somewhere over the dense forest near the Lewis River, Cooper stepped out of the plane and into the freezing darkness, with $200,000 strapped to his body. No one saw him jump, no parachute was ever found, and no radar picked him up as he fell through the night sky. When the plane landed safely in Reno, the FBI initiated one of the most massive manhunts in history. Agents scoured forests, lakes, and rivers in Washington and Oregon, using helicopters, boats, and search teams. They searched for any clue, a parachute, clothing, or even Cooper's remains. But the wilderness yielded nothing. With no leads and no suspects, the investigation quickly hit a dead end. The FBI meticulously documented every bill given to Cooper, hoping that one day the ransom would surface. They distributed the serial numbers to banks, casinos, and financial institutions across the country, placing everyone on alert. Months passed with no sign of the money. It was as if Cooper had managed to disappear not only himself, but also the cash. 9 years after the hijacking in 1980, an unexpected clue emerged. A young boy named Brian Ingram found 3 bundles of decayed $20 bills buried in the sand along the banks of the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched the ransom given to Cooper. While the find was significant, it deepened the mystery. How did the money get there, and where was the rest of it? Some believe Cooper didn't survive the jump. The conditions that night were harsh: freezing rain, turbulent winds, and complete darkness. Even an experienced skydiver would struggle to survive such conditions. Others argue that Cooper's detailed knowledge of the plane suggests he had a solid plan, possibly with an accomplice waiting on the ground. Was his jump a fatal miscalculation, or did he escape into a new life? One of the most compelling suspects in the D.B. Cooper case was Kenneth Christensen, a former paratrooper and flight attendant for Northwest Orient Airlines. Christensen had the skills and experience that matched the profile of Cooper. His military background provided him with parachuting expertise, and his role as a flight attendant gave him inside knowledge about airline operations and procedures. Shortly after the hijacking, Christensen made a suspicious cash purchase of a house in Aloha, Oregon. The timing raised eyebrows. He bought the property just weeks after the infamous crime, paying a substantial amount that seemed out of place for someone of his modest means. While Christensen claimed he had received a financial windfall from an inheritance, many found the story hard to believe, especially given the proximity to the hijacking. Additionally, some witnesses claimed that Christensen bore a resemblance to the composite sketch of D.B. Cooper, further fueling speculation. However, despite this circumstantial evidence, the FBI could never definitively link him to the crime. Their investigation found no concrete proof connecting him to Cooper, and Christensen always maintained his innocence. Even after his death in 1994, the mystery surrounding his potential involvement continues to intrigue investigators and amateur sleuths alike. William Gossett, a former Marine and skilled parachutist, emerged as another intriguing suspect in the D.B. Cooper case. His obsession with the mystery became apparent to those around him. He collected every newspaper article, every scrap of information he could find about the hijacking. Gossett reportedly boasted to friends and family about knowing every detail of the case, claiming he had insights that eluded even the FBI. What raised alarm bells among investigators was his behavior after the hijacking. Some sources suggest that Gossett might have gambled away a portion of the ransom money in Las Vegas shortly after the incident. He had been known to frequent casinos, and his sudden bursts of spending after the crime fueled speculation. However, despite the intriguing circumstantial evidence, the FBI was never able to definitively link him to Cooper's disappearance. Even after Gossett's death in 2003, the theories surrounding his involvement in the case persisted. His fixation on D.B. Cooper became a topic of interest for true crime enthusiasts and amateur sleuths, leaving many to wonder if he was the man behind the mask. Another suspect that cannot be overlooked is Don Weber, a former military veteran. Weber's background is both intriguing and troubling. He served time in prison from 1945 to 1968 for theft and forgery. His wife would later come forward with accusations, claiming that he had confessed to her just 3 days before his death in 1995. In a startling moment, Weber allegedly said, "I am Dan Cooper." Initially, his wife dismissed the comment as nonsensical, but the following month her perspective shifted dramatically when she learned about the significance of the name in connection to the hijacking. From that point on, suspicions surrounding Weber in the notorious hijacking grew. His wife recalled that he would have nightmares, often talking in his sleep about jumping out of an airplane from the rear stairwell. He also claimed that a knee injury he sustained came from jumping out of a plane, just like the infamous hijacker. Furthermore, evidence pointed to his erratic behavior. He was known to drink heavily and smoke cigarettes. An intriguing piece of evidence surfaced in 1979 when Weber was spotted walking alone along the banks of the Columbia River. This was just 4 months before Brian Ingram found the decayed ransom bills mentioned earlier. The timeline raised eyebrows and connected Weber to the Cooper case in a chilling way. However, after many years, the FBI ultimately ruled out Weber as a suspect in July 1998. Their investigation concluded that his fingerprints did not match any found on the hijacked aircraft, and no direct evidence linked him to the crime. Even DNA samples taken did not match those collected from Cooper's tie. Nevertheless, the FBI acknowledged that they could not definitively rule out the possibility that organic traces on Cooper's tie might have come from Weber. In 2016, after 45 years of investigation, the FBI officially closed the case. With no new leads and countless dead ends, they concluded that D.B. Cooper's fate might never be known. But the legend endures, captivating amateur detectives and conspiracy theorists to this day. The Cooper hijacking changed aviation forever. Soon after the incident, new security measures were introduced: mandatory baggage checks, stricter passenger screenings, and the installation of Cooper vanes on planes to prevent aft staircases from being opened mid-flight. These measures marked the beginning of a new era in air travel, ensuring that what happened on November 24, 1971, could never happen again. D.B. Cooper's actions forced the aviation industry to adapt to an evolving landscape of threats. D.B. Cooper's legend lives on in popular culture. The story has inspired countless books, documentaries, and films. His audacious heist and mysterious disappearance have made him an iconic figure, a modern-day Robin Hood, or an enigmatic outlaw. People continue to debate his fate in online forums, and his image is often portrayed in art and media, keeping the mystery alive. His story has even spawned annual events celebrating the legend, where fans gather to discuss theories and celebrate the greatest unsolved mystery in aviation. With no definitive answers, conspiracy theories about D.B. Cooper abound. Some believe he was a government agent. Others think he might have been a disgruntled employee of Northwest Airlines. There are even theories suggesting that Cooper could have died in the jump, yet others claim he started a new life with his ransom money. Each theory adds another layer of intrigue to this already complex mystery. The allure of the unknown continues to fascinate people, proving that sometimes a mystery remains unsolved for a reason. D.B. Cooper's case remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. As time passes, the likelihood of discovering the truth diminishes, yet the fascination with his story only grows stronger. Did he die in the wilderness? Was he a mastermind who pulled off the perfect crime? Or did he simply slip away into the night, never to be seen again? Each question adds to the mystique of D.B. Cooper, leaving us to ponder what truly happened that fateful night. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through one of the most fascinating cases in aviation history. We encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. What do you believe happened to D.B. Cooper? Was he a brilliant criminal or simply a desperate man? Do you think he survived the jump? Your opinions matter, and we love hearing from you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more intriguing stories, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. See you next time with more intriguing mysteries from Shadow Mysteries. Always keep questioning the mysteries around you.